I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we are just building on our record. This is like the 1 millionth week in a row we've done this.
Yeah, give or take 999,000 or so. Yeah, we're close. We're on the way. Let's say this. We're on the path to 1 million straight weeks.
That's a long, winding path, but yeah, I'm confident we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get there. The only point I'm confident we won't get there is today.
Yeah, exactly. But today is we got a lot going on. We got a lot of show. A lot of show and not a lot of time for a lot of show.
Well, what else is new?
Yeah, I know. That's true. Somebody described when you had too much going on, it's like trying to put 20 gallons of sand into a 10-gallon hat.
That must be somebody from Zoho.
Or somebody from Texas. Yeah, maybe they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think it was, but hey, it could be. I don't know. Anyway, we better get started because we do have a lot of stuff. We've got our buddy Vinnie Mirchandani, who has never been on with us before, who is going to make his CRM Playaz world preview, whatever you want to call it, premiere. Debut, premiere, all of that. He's coming up in a little while, and we also have that segment that people are just falling in love with. It's the Watchlist Winners segment, and this week,
I don't fall in love with that as me.
This week it is Pega in the spotlight, and representing Pega will be our buddy Tom Libretto. He's the chief marketing officer for Pega. That'll be towards the end of the show. And we also have the final appearance of one of our two Playa-in-Residence, and it isn't El Nicole. So there's your hint, folks. It's not.
I'm telling you, I prefer to call it their graduation.
The graduation. That's a nice way to do it.
Right.
Nice
graduation.
Nice way to put the spin on how they just leave us high and dry.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say they go on to bigger and better things, but probably just bigger, really. What's better than this, really?
How could it be better?
No, it can't.
Exactly.
Do
you know what I said? Exactly.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Oh, boy. All right. So before we bring Mr. Jamie Anderson on, I had a little thing I need to get off my chest before we get going with things.
Okay.
I'm going to show you. I got this notification this morning. Like, congratulations, your post was featured by LinkedIn news team, and I posted, this thing on, me and my buddy, the bold one, John Cold Rice Lawson, and we do watching Amazon, and so that's part of what I do is watch Amazon, post stuff, and then we talk about it. This posted this thing yesterday on Amazon, basically putting a 1-year pause on letting the cops use their facial recognition software. And there's a reason for that. There's some issues with accuracy, particularly when it comes to identifying people of color. And so before, we have a lot of stuff going on with that. So before they really should be going full bore into it, the accuracy and the dependency should be at a much higher rate when it comes to being able to find and identify people, period, particularly when it's people who could be sent to jail or something, and you want to make sure you got it right. So I posted that, and this is exactly what I post. Let me go to this view here. Let me take this down, and let me go to this view here, and let me make that. So this is what I posted. It was just an article, it was a CNET article. I just posted. All I said was glad to see Amazon take this step. Right. All right. So first things first. Yeah.
You know how funny it actually looks, right?
It almost looks like a Pins episode.
Well, it's not only that. It's like its photo has this now. That's a big black box on it, and now the match has a big black box on it, obviously. But it just looks so funny that of course match the other one with the other guy with a big black box on his face.
There it is. Now, so that's all. All I said was glad to see Amazon take this step, which I'm glad. I'm glad they took the step. So whenever it gets, apparently this is the first time that one of my posts has gotten featured like this. So let me show you kind of the stats behind it. And so usually my posts definitely don't get this much action. Let's put it like that. So, and those stats are as of kind of like right before we came on. So closing in on 100 likes or whatever you want to call it, over 10,000 views and 43 comments. Those, I mean, the stats, it's like, that's pretty good. That's really, wow. And the thing about it is, usually, when I get a post that's pretty popular, it can get in that ballpark. It doesn't happen a lot, but it can get in that ballpark. And usually when you get in that ballpark, it's because a lot of people are sharing it. There are no shares on this thing. It's just as purely on the strength of LinkedIn choosing the LinkedIn editorial team choosing your post to feature. So that's like, wow, that's pretty impressive. All right. So that's the good stuff. Here's the bad stuff. I'm not even going to show you. The comments on this I thought I was at a Reddit Ask Me Anything or Yahoo or something like that. Not on a professional, LinkedIn is for professional business oriented people. Now, I'm not complaining about people who don't agree, somehow they don't agree with what Amazon is doing. That's one thing. But you had so many comments of people you could obviously tell did not read the article. They were just, things like leftists or left wing or libs. And I can tell right away, you didn't read the article because the article was all about why Amazon felt it important to take a pause so they can find out how they can improve the accuracy so that it doesn't cause anybody, innocent people, negative outcomes. And we've seen what's going on with the negative outcomes. So all I said was glad to see Amazon take this step, link to the article. And if you want to go check out the comments, folks, I'm not going to put them out, but I just find that LinkedIn, it doesn't matter if it's a professional network or not. There are people on there that definitely do not express themselves in a professional way. So, and the other thing is, let me get rid of some of this stuff here. The other thing is, some of the people that were leaving the most ridiculous comments, you look at their profile on LinkedIn, one connection.
Mm-hmm. No,
so no picture. Exactly. So I just had to get that off my chest before we got going. I don't know what you think about all that, but
look, the funny thing is, of course, you see a lot of that behavior on Facebook. It's kind of routine at this point. But they're not hey Sven, they're not any again, hey Ray. They're not any really different people just because they work. Right. So the reality is not shocked a bit. I mean, honestly, a jerk's a jerk. And, regardless of whether he's working that morning or off that day, right, he's still a jerk. And they express themselves accordingly. And it's sad. It's sad because, typically they're, they could be mid-30s, but they're operating like they're 14. And they're just immature brats, really. So, you can't just ignore it. I mean,
I literally ignored it. There were some folks who left some really thoughtful comments kind of on both sides, which I appreciate, but yeah. Here's somebody who is not an idiot who we definitely appreciate.
Hey,
Mr. Jamie Anderson, Mr. former or graduate of the CRM Playaz Playa-in-Residency program. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and what a program it was. It's a fast track. That's right. Fast track.
You were in the honors classes the whole time.
I'll tell you something. I was listening intently to what you said about, obviously the comments left on your LinkedIn page, and I'm 100% with you, Paul. I learned at a very early age a very, very valuable lesson. And I was talking to somebody about it recently, because I thought, I don't know why people just don't do this, right? But I remember as a young boy growing up in Scotland, one of the things that, we had leathered into as at school was Christianity, right? You couldn't go to a school, whether it was a Catholic school or a Protestant school, without a member of the cloth coming in to speak to you every week. And me, I'm quite a kind of jovial chap. I don't take things too seriously, and I wasn't taking this particular lesson, very seriously. And all I'll say is that I felt the hand of God that day, because I had it leathered into my backside from the minister who came to see us, and I'd made an innocent schoolboy comment about Martin Luther, the founder of the Protestant church, right?
Reformation.
Yeah, and I kind of, and it was just I think I was 11 years old. It was just a comment on his appearance, which was definitely, he definitely didn't look like someone from the 80s, which I just found. And so I made a comment about who he did actually look like, and the hand of God came down like that, very, very sharply.
Wow.
And he just said, if you've got nothing nice to say, you should just keep your opinions to yourself. And I thought, how prescient for today's age. See if people could just keep their opinions. See if your opinion's not a good, if it's not a good opinion. If you're being a, how did you describe it, a jerk? Before it's even left your fingers, it's a jerkish thing to say or do. Don't do it.
Of course.
The world would be a much better place if we don't need to hear everybody's opinion, right? So that's my view on it.
I am totally with you on that. Look, I always had this thing that I've always told every mentee I've ever had, and it's the same thing over and over, which is, look, you can say anything you want, but be prepared to defend everything you say. They can't defend a single one of those things because they make a statement without any content to begin with. There's nothing to defend, right? Yeah. Not there. It's mindless. So, life's very, very interesting about life, which is, you want to be happy in it, right? And when it boils down to it, there's a lot of people who simply don't get the idea that they're not the only ones who deserve that, right? And then they act accordingly. And those are the same people. And I guarantee that those very same people who are making those stupid comments on LinkedIn probably had just been making 5 or 10 of those on Facebook, 15 minutes before.
Very probably. Yeah.
It's kind of sad that a professional network, you would expect you'd be able to have differing comments or opinions or thoughts, but do it in a professional way. That's all I was saying. Some of these folks are like, enough said. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's get into, you're leaving us, man. I mean, it's like a bittersweet thing. Tell everybody who may not know what's going on.
Well, I'm leaving the CRM Playaz, and it is a bittersweet moment. It's definitely, adieu and not kind of goodbye. We'll see each other again. But
sure.
I'm going off to join Exactly. In fact, I've already joined Exactly as the Chief Sales Officer. Look, it was just, I was working with them for 5 or 6 months. Great team, great leadership in particular, and the opportunity came up to run the revenue side of the business, the sales business, and at this time, I think Exactly as in sales performance management has an incredible opportunity to actually, help organizations improve that sales performance at, a very, very difficult moment in time. We're about to head into definitely some kind of recessionary moment. I think that any applications that, can help you and the people that you have to perform better, whilst also reducing, costs on the back end through, manual processes and greater efficiency, then I think it's a great thing. So I'm super excited about it.
So what exactly does the chief sales officer do? Like marketing or what?
Service?
Well, I think what I'm going to do, I think I'll redefine that, right? I think definitely, look, I think...
Jamie, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
Really? No, look, I think the reality is, we, in sales, I think that everybody has to be an enabler to sales, right? The same as innovation is important in a business. I think you're either an enabler for innovation within a business or you're a detractor. You're an enabler for sales in the business or you're a detractor. And I think it's about obviously finding those connections and making sure that, businesses perform much better with the right focus.
Yeah. Well,
So
go ahead, Brent.
Oh no, go. You asked your follow up. I got another. I'm going to go in a different direction.
All right. So presumably, you'll be working very, very closely, as opposed to as a colleague, with the marketing guys on alignment, marketing and sales. You'll be obviously working with Chris and some of the others there on the C-level. But how are you kind of reconceptualizing the actual? And again, I realize how early it is here, but how you're kind of conceiving the actual sales organization, the actual people who are selling, for example.
Well, I've certainly got quite a lot of ideas. This is working day 9 on the job. The first thing I'm doing, and I'm actually doing it straight after this call, is I'm continuing the process. I'm meeting every single person in the business and doing one-to-ones with everyone in the sales organization, from pre-sales, solution consulting, the whole thing. I think it's incredibly important. It's reinforcing that notion that, sales is a team sport. Yeah, it's great to have, great individual strikers, but you also need people to give you the ball in the first place. Yeah. So, I think that's really important. So building that, kind of building that internal value, that collaboration, I think that's the most important thing. And obviously, because as soon as people align to a common goal, then we can serve the customer better. And that's what it's about, serving the customer.
Absolutely.
So going in a slightly different direction, does the job description also entail becoming the lead singer and guitarist for the Exactly band? And what kind of direction do you plan on taking the Exactly band in?
I think we'll take them into kind of post-punk genre. We'll mix up with a little bit of reggae. I think it'll be an eclectic mix of all those things, and I'll throw in some Beach Boys harmonies too. But be excited about it. That's going to be a great thing.
Well, you're up against some serious competition out there. I mean, you're also against them, as we've talked about with other bands. We've had representation that you might not have seen our Pega World lead-in with Don Sherman, who was the CTO. But remember how you ended the last time playing? He ended his last time. He pulled the guitar off the wall, kind of going into it, and he started playing Stones, right? So
nice,
playing and singing it. And they have a band, and they work with what's that group?
The brand is called the Layer Cakes, by the way.
Layer Cakes is their band. Then there's the iconic band, the most iconic band in the history of tech, which is the Raving Daves of PeopleSoft. They used to literally win competition, like regular band competitions. They were good, and they are like legendary. So you've got a big I don't know. Sales stuff, you'll breeze through that part. But getting the band up to snuff with the Raving Daves, given that I don't even think Exactly has a band. Okay, if they do, they're terrible at advertising it. I've never seen it. So you've got. I'm telling you, you think being a Playa-in-Residence was tough, right? You're heading to running a band and sales.
I don't know if I can go back. I don't know if I can go back to being in a band again. Definitely not. No.
Hey, there is a question. This is a serious question from Bob Fagel, who I typically try to ignore, but he asked a good question here, so I thought I'd pop it up. So what do you say to
I possibly won't be singing, right? And I'm not a Heart of Midlothian fan. No, I'm sorry to disappoint you if there's a connection there. But
Nothing with they're terrible.
I am totally not disappointed in you disappointing Bob's, because that's actually a good thing.
I'm with you on Heart of Midlothian too.
Oh man! So are you and Brian Solis? Are you guys going to form some kind of fraternity, like the folks who leave the Playa-in-Residency program for chief and or global positions?
Yeah, as a graduate, I mean, straight out of school, man. Right.
And I was going to say 49 years young and graduate. It's great.
I mean,
I mean to say, so I'll do it, but I think we'll definitely, all come back together if Nicole, also, kind of graduates in some way. You never know. This is a breeding ground for talent. I see Paul sitting there. Paul, you're kind of like the Simon Cowell.
I like him now. I was watching America's Got Talent. I actually really like Simon Cowell now. I used to not like him, but I really think he's great. So thank you.
And Brent's like Britney Spears, I think.
No. God almighty.
Well, Jamie, it's so sorry to see you leave, but but we can't have El Nicole leaving just yet. I mean, everybody has left us. We don't want her to leave just yet.
When it comes to her position, though, I mean, how do you graduate that one? How do you graduate that one? I mean, I'm not sure her option would be to go to a vendor at some senior position, which she could do. She could handle it, but she's an analyst. Analysts don't have a gigantically high career path, right? Really don't. If you think about it, we get to be what? More of an analyst? Right? Really, what's the career path, man?
Well, the thing is, it's honestly, it was one of the highlights for me of my role back at SAP Hybris was meeting the entire analyst community over those years, and also Adobe before that. But that was great, and it's such a buzz. I mean, I'm going to miss our interaction on this show. But look, I'm never far away. And look, whatever.
Yeah, realize though, you can't say "but" after you say that. You just have to stop. That's not one of those comments you're saying better not to say it, right? I'm just really going to personally miss the interaction on this show. Period.
Okay.
Well, since you really enjoyed your interaction with analysts, we're going to add one more analyst right now so you can really enjoy this show. And bring in our buddy Vinnie Mirchandani. Wow, look at all the books that
I know.
Are all those the books you wrote, Vinnie? Or
no, this is my wife's library. She lets me in every once in a while.
So that's got SAP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 6, 0, 7, 0, 8, 0.
Hey, listen, there's many more coming.
I don't doubt it a bit, sir. So,
well, first of all, welcome to the Playaz. This is a first, right?
It is. Thank you very much to both of you guys, because honestly, you make this fun. I know you like to rip. I watched the interview you did with John Reed, and I said, "Oh my God, they're hazing him." So I don't know if I'm ready for hazing, but I want to compliment you guys for keeping this fun. There's way too much negative doom and gloom from the media and, God forbid, our politicians. So we do need our folks like you to keep it somewhat level-headed. So thank you.
Well, we just do what Jamie says. We don't say all the mean things we're actually thinking.
Hey, do you guys know each other?
We do now. No.
Hey, Jamie.
Hey. I'm good, man. I'm good.
You guys never met?
No.
Wow.
Where's the accent from, Jamie?
What? Sorry.
Where's the accent from?
Scotland, which is where I'm dialing in from this evening.
Ah, okay. My wife's from Longford, Ireland.
Oh yeah, just over the water. Yeah.
Yep.
Both of you.
Good to meet you.
Members of the UK.
Has Paul put in his order for the single malts?
Funnily, do you know what? He's never asked me for one. But, you know, I was going to say I can source anything you're looking for, so just let me know.
I like the water that makes them.
Yeah.
I'll go with those.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're never going to run out of that.
Yeah.
So
Well, you are in a beautiful country.
we are. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so beautiful there.
So, Vinnie, how's it? Are you down in Tampa?
I am in Tampa today and have been for 3 months. Longest I've been grounded since 1983.
So how are you dealing with the sheltering in place, man? That's a big transition.
You know, honestly, it's been 3 or 4 things have kept me positive. First of all, my wife and daughter, you know, they're both very positive people. My daughter is in the hospitality business, which of course has crashed.
Oof.
But she has you know, started a career. She's counseling a lot of fellow millennials and doing pretty well at that. And I made the mistake of introducing both of them to Wall Street, and it's kind of a funny episode. Monday, they bought into Nikola, and they're sitting there. You know, it's already gone up like 150%, and they're looking at each other, going, "We should hold this long term." And I go, "You know, you guys are spiritual. This is the picture of greed right there. You guys not selling something after 150% in one day." So they've been very positive. The other couple of things that have kept me positive are, you know, I've been running a number of Zoom interviews with a lot of C-level executives in different industries, having them talk about heroics that they're seeing. And it's just amazing what, you know, we don't hear about it in the media much. We hear all the negative stories. There's been a lot of amazing heroics across industries that I've heard about, you know, manufacturing, banking, take healthcare, you name it, every sector and across the world. So that's been keeping me positive. The third thing is, you know, I've been running a series of what I call a passion columns, which both of you are delinquent on.
Yes, I knew you'd bring that up. I knew it. Remember what Jamie says. If you have something to say, don't say it.
Yeah.
But you know, that it gets columnists to write about their passion, right? So everything from birding to single malls to whatever. And I think we need a lot of that in this time frame. There's too many people just listening to negative, angry talk. It's helpful to have people talk about their positive, what makes them proud, what keeps them happy, right? So those three things, and a few other friends, and Tampa hasn't been very badly affected. So, you know, it hasn't been too bad. I do feel sorry for people who, you know, don't like their families, or they're themselves, they're alone. This has not been an easy period for a lot of people. So I don't want to rub it in, but for us, it's been fairly good.
So
thank you for asking.
For those who don't know Vinnie's writings, although you should if you've been around our universe at all, he has 2 really, really significant blogs. One is called Deal Architect, which is, if I'm going to typecast it, it basically is the one that covers the industry, you know, the technology industry, what it's doing at the enterprise level. And it's more geared specifically in that direction. Then he has his, what is it, New Deal, New Florence, right? I mean, what is it?
New Florence.
New Florence. And that's the one, to be perfectly honest, I love that. That's the one I love. And one of the things that Vinnie has done, as long as I've known him, is covered culture. I mean, he's actually, the interviews he's talking about, the passion interviews, those kind of things. But it's been more than that, too. There's been historic work on history. There's been work on actually even animal life at different times. They work on just observations of day-to-day things that are, you know, intimately tied to some cultural activity that's important. And to me, that's been the one that's the New Renaissance, New Florence one has always been the one that actually has like captured my attention. I read both because for insight on the industry, you know, Vinnie's one of the best. And so I highly recommend, and we'll put the links in, you know, after the show, that you look at both, not just one, both. This is Deal Architect. Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
By the way, that's a picture of a red barn that one of the CIOs did his interview from a barn. So I said, "Hey, send me a picture." I'll include that in the post. So
That's quite.
I've had people, it's been funny. People have done them for the man caves. Sridhar, the CEO of Zoho, did it from a rural village on a 4G line from rural India. That was risky.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to see people where they've been sheltering in place.
That's amazing. And then, so what is your take on the way all this is going for the industry that we all do represent? One way or the other. What's gonna be? Is there going to be a new normal? What's it going to be? At least as best you can take a guess.
So what I've learned from these multiple industries that I've talked to C-level executives, and these are all thoughtful. They're not just marketing. They're thoughtfully telling me what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, and so on. I wrote a blog called Topsy Turvy Day. It's from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Basically, it's the song was about on that day, and every man's a king, every king is a clown. Everything is up and down. I can show you sectors that are growing 25 to 50%. Workday told me they ran a 1 million person payroll in the middle of this crisis, 1 million person, single company, right? I've had banks tell me, the CEO of a bank told me his business grew 25% as a result of the PPP loans in a month. So, there's a lot of sectors that are doing just fine. The housing mortgage market is on fire. All the refinancings, even in the middle of the lockdown, they're managing to send people into garages to get paperwork signed. On the other hand, you have a lot of industries that are hurting, right? The CIO of Delta told me he's down to maybe 10% of his normal capacity, right? So it is all over the place. And my best advice to any vendor would be, don't just look at one or two threads. You really need to look at a couple of hundred threads and reevaluate everything. One of my concerns is, you guys have been seeing all the virtual analyst days and so on that are going on. I still see a lot of longing for 3-year ERP projects and try to sell what's in the bag. What was in the bag 3-4 months ago? It's a completely new market. You really need to sit back and reevaluate what has changed. I don't see enough of that happening yet.
That was fair. I mean, do you see the technology companies, the ones that we normally deal with on the business tech side, are not, at this point, at least, are not particularly suffering. In fact, a lot of them are doing very well.
Sure.
Do you see that as long-term, or do you think, apparently, according to at least official figures, we've been in a recession since February. Okay. And look, eventually that has repercussions at some point everywhere. But not necessarily dramatically bad, but just repercussions. How do you see that around the tech industry? Are we going to get hit by this, or what?
I think that there'll have to be a lot new investment. I think what you're seeing is, they have maintenance revenue or subscriptions that were signed over the last several years. New sales will need a completely new approach, a lot more lighter, digital agility focused approach. But that's going to need investment in new verticals. We talk about work from home. I see telcos having to make a whole bunch of last mile investments. Most of our neighborhoods were, the fiber was put in 10, 15 years ago, right? I see a lot of companies having to saying, oh yeah, I let my employees work from home. Well, you guys have seen bandwidth is pretty spotty, right? And people are competing with their kids and their spouses for bandwidth. So I think there's going to be a lot more investment required in the next couple of years. And from a revenue perspective, there's several new markets, but if you keep trying to sell what you have in the bag, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult, especially the longer projects, which depend a lot on big teams. And no customer is going to let 50 people off a school bus from a big system integrator come in anytime soon, right? Yeah. So there'll be a lot of remote implementations, remote diagnostics. So, if you're prepared to change, I think the opportunities will continue. But I sense some vendors are going to resist that and try to sell what's in the bag. Keep depending on partners who try to do it the old way, and so they'll have a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah, I think you're right. So
Hey,
good.
I just want to kind of get things moving a little bit because I know Jamie has to drop off, and we do want to. We already have our man from Pega in the wings, so maybe we should try to wrap this up and then kind of move on a little bit.
Okay, one more question for you, Vinny. This is and by the way, how many people, Brent? How many people can we handle on one?
Oh,
call?
I'm going to bring Tom on before we let Jamie go because there's a little band versus band that I want to talk about.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, wait, hey, I can get into music too.
Okay, no, that's what
You're staying on with us, Vinny. We just Jamie has to duck out, but
Yeah.
so we want to bring.
I think Jamie, they're politely telling you to. Sorry, no.
Listening to it's Jamie. Everyone's now listening to your advice. That was gonna be. All right. Well, look, I'll if Vinny's staying on with us, then I'll hold for now.
All right, so let's do this. Let's before we let our graduation end, because Jamie has to move on. I wanted to bring on Tom Libretto from Pega. He's the Chief Marketing Officer. He's here because Paul is going to go over why Pega made the watch list. But before we let Jamie go, and because Tom, are you the lead shredder for the layer cakes? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I suppose you could qualify it as that, Brent. Hacker, shredder, whatever adjective works here. But yeah, we have a good time with the company band.
All right, so there it is. So, Tom, do you know Jamie? Have you ever met Jamie Anderson before?
Only by reputation, which is fantastic. Nice to meet you, Jamie.
Nice to meet you, Tom. Thank you.
There it is. So we got lead guitarist versus lead guitarist here. Now, Tom, do you also sing?
I do.
Oh
Man,
we're gonna have a show. Oh, we are. We're gonna have a show.
That couldn't work here, could it?
No, not right now necessarily right now, but I'm talking about in the future. There's also other bands out there too. I think we bring on 4 or 5 people who lead the bands and see what we can do.
well, have you guys?
I think there's a new watch list for you here.
Probably easier to do than the watch list for this year.
Have you guys actually been paying attention to this versus thing that's been going on, where these like celebrity musicians have been kind of doing on Instagram Live, there's your song, and then they counter with their song. So I kind of can see a little CRM Playaz versus going on eventually, and maybe the layer cakes come on and they're gonna battle. What's the exactly band gonna be called now, Jamie?
God, now you're putting me in the spot. We don't even have a band. I don't know.
Well, listen.
No direction. There you go.
Right. So we'll give you a month to settle in, and then Tom, you get your boys together, and
we'll be
we're gonna do
some other ones. So
we'll come up with some other. Sugar probably should be involved with Martin Schneider.
Oh, yeah, you're up against serious competition. Let's put it this way: for those of you who don't know Martin Schneider or know Martin Schneider, most of you see him normally in a business suit, but when that business suit is on, he's literally just a giant tattoo. That's a giant tattoo with a head, right? I mean, it's like insane. And he's more in the heavy metal universe. So Martin, and you know what? He sang professionally for about a year, I think it was. Yeah. So he's got your kind of credentials, Jamie. He didn't quite make it up the charts as far as you did, but he's good. So okay, we've got 3 now.
All right, so we'll have to get a 4th one in, and then we will have a battle royale of CRM industry bands, and we'll let the people decide, who takes the title. So this is good. This is good. This is what the CRM Playaz is here for. So, Jamie, we know you got to go. Thanks again for being a Playa-in-Residence, and we expect you to come back. We'll do a reunion show between you and Brian because you guys are both the graduates so far.
Awesome.
Yeah, why not? It's great. Listen, guys, love you. See you later. Take care.
Take care.
Back, man.
Cheers. Bye.
Big one. Big hug.
Okay, so that means we're here now for the Watchlist Winners segment. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically cede the stage to Mr. Greenberg. He goes over and tells you exactly why Pega is on the list. Then we'll bring both Vinnie and Tom back, and we get to have fun and asking Tom questions.
All right.
So here we go. Let me give you the stage, sir.
Thank you, sir. So here's the thing. This has been kind of Pega week and a half for, I think, both me and Brent. Brent just finished a 5-part series with Pega. I just did a webinar this morning with Pega and a track session at Pega World. We did a CRM Playaz lead-in episode to Pega World Inspire. And now, coincidentally, it turns out that this is the week that Pega, in reverse alphabetical order, falls under the why they won the watch list. So it's been a very Pega week. So essentially, I'm going to give you 4 reasons why they won. And they're a little different than most of the other companies. I mean, but very valid for them in particular. Number one, remember with the watch list, it's not your technology per se. That's just one facet. It's how you have impact as a company and your ability to sustain the impact. In Pega's case, part of that is genuinely their technology. I mean, there's been a lot of talk in the industry about, getting beyond CRM platforms to something else. And then a lot of companies, in the interest of the meme or the catchphrase of the moment, are now CX platforms, the customer engagement platforms. Pega is one of the few companies who can call themselves a customer engagement platform and not just be a rejiggered CRM platform, which a lot of them are. Pega is unique in that, well, it's close to unique in that way. Their platform actually takes into account all the communication going on among companies and customers, your ability to identify individual behaviors, your ability to take actions on those individual behaviors very quickly, your ability to look at the bigger picture as the journey extends and continues, the ability to then also capture all the data, store all the data, analyze all the data, gain insight from the data, and act on the data in real time. The ability also to do what you have to standardly do when it does come to CRM, which sales, marketing, customer service, but they do it from a fully integrated way. And the other thing about Pega's technology has always been their strength, was their ability to take highly complex processes and actually integrate them in a way that makes sense and makes it more convenient for both the company and the customers to do the business they do. So that was one of the other things. And one of the examples of that is, they have very kind of cute names for their technology, like their context-driven architecture is actually, they call it sounds just like it sounds. It is just like it sounds, a situational layer cake, right? Which their band obviously is the layer cake, so you kind of get the connection there. So they now have the process fabric is a new one for them. I'm not going to go into detail given the time, but you get an idea that there's a company who's continually innovating around engagement and around expanding their capabilities to make this an all-encompassing platform, but tied into an ecosystem of end-to-end customer needs. So that's the first thing. Second thing is just an insanely strong management team, and it's an insanely strong, and for the most part, with one exception, which I will raise, a long-term management team, meaning they've been there a while, they know each other, they get along extremely well, and they're very, very good at what they do. Tom being the CMO, and Alan Trefler running the company, Don Sherman being the CTO, Kareem, I can't pronounce his last, I always get it wrong.
I think it's Akinol.
Akinol, thank you. Kareem Akinol is he's kind of the product guy. I mean, the best way to put it, like product evangelist, in the guy who kind of handles everything related to product, but building it specifically. But he handles everything. I mean, and the other thing is, it's a highly articulate team. Now, the one exception I'm bringing up is something that makes the team even better. Is in the last, I think it's been 2 weeks now. They brought on Hayden Stafford from Microsoft, who was running Dynamics Global Sales and was one of the rock stars of Microsoft. He's now going to be, I think, it's president of Global Client Services at Pega. Hayden is he's an amazing guy, and he's amazing in terms of execution. He's also beloved by the people who know him, and so he's like a perfect addition to this team. And I'm mentioning him because this is a management team that, let's say that it makes them stronger. It's not like they had a gap to fill; they didn't, but this even makes them stronger. So that's another area. The other one, and this is to your credit, Tom, is that this is a company that doesn't have a gigantic marketing budget, but they've literally maximized it for impact given that size too. I mean, just utterly maximize it for impact. And what that means specifically is, on the one hand, they've defined all the marketing that they've done around the corporate narrative, which has been flawless for the last 6 years. They've evolved from what I used to call a mechanical company, being a very process-focused company, to an emotional company, which is the focus around engagement. And if you're looking at an evolutionary, broad brush steps, it would be business process management to CRM-ish, to CRM, to customer experience, to customer engagement. Now, one of the things with a corporate narrative that's mission critical, always of crucial importance, is that you don't lose customers as the narrative evolves, because it's very easy to do that, right? People freak out when things change and they say, well, that's not what we came in. We came in when they were this. Now they're this. Are they going to continue to serve us? What's going to happen to our relationship, and so on and so forth? One company, who shall remain unnamed, managed to screw that up royally when a gentleman who had been acquired for his company's cloud his company's being in the cloud, and this is an on-premise company, need to be in the cloud. The guy himself was, let's call it, the CEO of the company got acquired, was very, I'm saying very nicely blunt, but he really fits the don't say it if you're going to be mean kind of role. So he made a statement in front of 30,000 people where he said, on-premise is gone, it's out, it's useless, the cloud's everything. Now, was he wrong? No, he wasn't totally wrong. He was partly wrong, but he just said that. And the 30,000 people in the audience, I'd say 29,800 were on-premise customers of this company, right? Literally the wrong thing to say at the wrong time in the wrong way, because there was no explanation as to how you went from A to B. It just said, we're at B, A is gone, goodbye. Pega has been flawless in this. They have gone from A to B to C to D to E without fail, and everything that they've done from the marketing side on down, and in the product development side and evolution side, has been aligned with that corporate narrative, and it's literally never veered. Every customer story on the stage would fit that corporate narrative. Every product that came out fits that corporate narrative. Every marketing initiative that they take fits that corporate narrative, and they don't fail, and it always evolves, and they don't lose customers. That's the third. The final one, which is interesting because it's strong, but it's not complete. And that's really not, it's their, one of my big beefs is, I think if you've ever listened to the show at all, is I'm really not very happy with most of the thought leadership initiatives that most of the vendors take. I actually find most of them to be pretty poor, and some of them to be outrageously non-existent. Right. And it doesn't mean that there's not good content that comes out on it, every now and then, or even relatively frequently, but it's not an organized effort to actually impact the trust of the people out there who aren't necessarily your customers yet. Meaning, you are my trusted advisor is the result of a good thought leadership program, whether you're talking to a customer, a prospect, or a person who's just in the market or around the market and happens to run across you, right? You are a trusted advisor. Pega actually, in the last, I'd say 3-4 years, has begun to extend their program in a way that's actually organized, that actually is utilizing all the media the different media that people are now attuning to, video, et cetera, in addition to everything else. The content, the quality of the content is high. Their thinking is visionary. Like, first people to talk about empathy in business, Pega. The first people to talk about ethics of AI, Pega, right? So, I'm saying that, and they're actually building products around these things, which is it's dicey, but they're doing it. So, but the thought leadership itself has been profoundly improving over the last several years to a point where it does have a genuine impact. That said, I think there are a number of things it could do, which again, this is why they won. So I'm not going to go into that, right? So, but Pega, I'll put it this way. The best way to think of it, and I'll close with this, is that Pega is 85% better than 90% of the vendors out there, right? Way better than almost everybody, if I'm putting it in any other way. So that's why Pega wins the watch list. And those 5 things are very specific to them. Right. The partner drop. I don't like to drop Kip Murphy's. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Well, once again, that's a comment from Bob Fagel. So what do you expect?
Right. So there you have it.
All right. So this has been great. All right, Tom. So it was literally about a year ago that we were all in Vegas, and we had a chance to sit down with you there. And one of the big things that was announced at the conference that year, 2019, was the Empathy Advisor as part of the customer engagement platform. So it's been a year. What's happened in that year? How has the Empathy Advisor, how's that made an impact on your customers? And how has operationalizing empathy, how has it gone just in general? Has it been what you were expecting it? Has it been something different? Tell us a little bit about what's happened in the past year with that.
Yeah, for sure, Brent. Before I answer that question, thank you, Paul. Those were very kind words, and they're very much appreciated. We work hard to deserve them, and it's great to hear. Yeah, Brent, from an Empathy Advisor point of view, it's gone really, really well. I think the announcements that we made at PegaWorld last year were really geared initially at organizations that struggled with the regulatory requirements that almost dictated that they prove in all the decisions they make around what loans to offer, what pricing to offer, which products to offer, that there be a catalog and a reckoning of why and when and how those decisions were made. We took it one step further so that the tooling would be in the product that allowed the marketers or data scientists or the business drivers in those firms to make conscious decisions around adopting their own internal policies aligned with regulatory policies to ensure that those things materialized above board. So we're really happy with the traction that helped us get, largely in financial services and insurance, who have to deal with these types of trade-offs and issues every single day.
Okay, Tom. So you guys have been pretty responsive in the crisis, and what I want to ask a slightly different take on not just what are you doing, but how are you telling people about it? Because, there's that whole thing that goes on all the time about, well, if you tell people about it, it's marketing and blah, 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 like that's, but people want to hear what you're doing now. That's the thing that people are not getting through their heads sometimes, which, well, let's say people, I mean, industry people like us. But the reality is it's not marketing. I mean, I used to say, well, if that's marketing, then it's the most inefficient marketing campaign in history, because people are spending millions of dollars on not saying something, right? So, so tell us both from the standpoint of the response you guys have had, and then how you're actually presenting that to the world.
Can I actually jump in before Tom says it? I can answer this one. It's called Pega Responds. It's been a 6-part series on Facebook and LinkedIn, where they have a conversation with one of their industry experts, with a quote unquote thought leader, and it's really focused on not on product, but on what they're seeing in the line space. So, Tom, would that
leaders?
Tom, would that fit what part of what you guys are doing?
Yeah, 100%. I think the the current environment has forced every company on the planet to be innovative and create new channels to get those messages and communications out, and we're no exception. So standing up the Pega Respond series, the lead up to Pega World series that was topically oriented, broadcasting every Friday morning. All the way through a complete and utter pivot out of what used to be a fairly big part of our marketing mix, which was physical events, our own and participation in big third-party events. That has all gotten thrown out the window, and we, like everyone else, have pivoted into programming, new content in shorter, snackable formats, and standing up massively higher volumes of these, everything from large to medium to small, video-based broadcast and event-oriented formats, communication formats. And there's probably a lot more runway to go, and we'll keep exploring new avenues, because the business engine isn't stopping. We need to constantly innovate and figure out those new channels to market, or new communication channels.
Well, I mean, you guys did a really good job. I'll tell you the one thing Brent and I both talked about last week, because we really thought that this was your event. Pega World Inspire was actually, at least to date, the best one we've seen. And again, I think you could have done more interactivity up front in the very opening parts. Alan was the only one, and that seemed kind of rushed. But it basically seemed like, oh my God, we don't have any interactivity. We better get somebody to say something with somebody else, right? It was like that as opposed to planned. But what I think you did brilliantly, and it really was brilliant, is you literally, I think, were the first people who understood people's attention spans are much less in this at home, because there's so many distractions, and you kept pretty much everything to 10 to 20 minutes. Everything, right? I mean, I know I did a track session with you, and I was looking at the page with all the tracks, and it was like 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And of course, mine was 11, which means once again, mine was the longest, and I went over to my time, which is like my history. I've literally never failed to not be on time. So today we did the webinar. It was supposed to be 30. It was 38, right? So I'm right on target. But again, well, first of all, holding me to 11 minutes is astounding. But the thing is that that you nailed that, and it really, you could tell the difference between the crispness of what you presented versus a lot of these other events. So I think others need to learn from that.
No, thank you. That was very obviously a very conscious decision, and we had the benefit of seeing the first ones that really went online, and quickly understood that the pivoting a 3-day event into a 3-day webinar series really was not the way home. Maybe unintended, maybe slightly intended benefit of producing and pre-producing a lot of that content in really short formats is we've had as much interaction with that content post the event itself than on the day of, which is outstanding, which and provides that event itself to live on well past the event day. So that's been fantastic for us.
I also think that making it look more like a TV show than just somebody sitting in their their family room looking at a webcam and just talking for 15 straight minutes or 20 or 40. I thought that made a huge difference. When you could see Don, and you could see there was multiple views, multiple camera views. It draws you in, and like having that quick pace of going from session to session, not letting it drag out too much, having some interludes in the middle. You can tell that it took into consideration we're not just trying to port over our physical conference and make it kind of just okay. You actually tried to enhance the experience by making it look more like a TV show, making it feel fast paced. And I think that helps. And I really do hope that all the conferences that come after Pega World look at what you guys did and build on it, and make it even more and more of that kind of feel to it.
I mean, I'll tell you, Don could not have eaten eggs on a live stage.
Vinny, you look like you want to say something.
Tom, this is like, I've never seen two analysts speak so nicely about a vendor. So kudos.
Here comes Vinny.
And Paul, you have a photographic memory if you didn't have notes when you said all those things about Pega. So
I spent thousands of hours on this song.
And Brent, to your question, I interviewed Rod Johnson, who is now president of Infor, and he said something similar. He's like, shame on us. They're based in New York. Shame on us if we don't learn from our Saturday Night Live and so on. He says the digital quality of virtual events can learn a lot from the media industry. So you did it, Tom. You obviously did it. I don't know if you consulted with some of those media folks, but kudos.
Thank you, man.
Don himself, you know what Don said when we did the lead in to Pega? He made it. I always talk to my clients about being more theatrical. It's part of what I talk about. It's actually part of what I advise. But Don said something which really got me thinking, and he's right too. He said, we've got to go from being more theatric, and he had no prompting, by the way. We've got to go from being more theatrical to being more cinematic. That was his term.
Yeah.
And he's absolutely right. He's
yes.
That's what you did. That was more cinematic than, even the backgrounds you were using, things like that were not, let's say, Adobe's normal backgrounds on live stage where there's spectacular, giant shows. They were just cinematically valuable, cinematically appealing backgrounds. They were not, dramatic light shows. And it really worked. It just really worked.
One of the things that's going on, I interviewed the dean of a business school, and he said, when we moved from on campus to the distance learning in 2 weeks, took a lot of effort, but we did it in 2 weeks. But he said, we're spending the entire summer revisiting the digital experience, because really we ported the classroom to digital, to Zoom or something. So I think every industry is thinking about how to make the digital experience richer. And I think we'll all benefit from that.
Amen, sir.
No doubt.
All right. Well, hey, Tom, really appreciate you joining us, stopping by and agreeing to be in the CRM Playaz Battle of the Bands when we get that hooked up. You can bring all your boys together.
We're not kidding. It's up to you guys we will call you out if you don't join them.
Yeah, just make sure you bring all the layers for the layer cake. We need all the layers. All right. Hey, this has been great. And Vinny, thank you for joining us for the first time.
And we will have you again, sir. It was awesome.
Hey, virtual hug to Paul for sure. Brent, I look forward to having you on my show
next week.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Matter of fact, before we go, we can announce a kind of a fun thing that we're doing. We are going to do the first ever crossover episodes where the guys from Disrupt TV, Ray Wong and Vala Afshar, they're going to join us next Thursday for a segment of the CRM Playaz, and then that following Friday, we're joining them. So this is like, remember when Law and Order and Homicide: Life on the Street used to do those crossover episodes? So we are going to do the first crossover episodes between CRM Playaz and Disrupt TV. So you got to be on the lookout for that.
W crossovers of DC Comics. That's Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Batwoman, and Legends of Tomorrow crossover. Every year they do a crossover.
Wow. I'm looking forward to have both of you talk about Sports World. So
yeah, no. So what? Okay, so So Vinnie is going to be interviewing us about. You fill us in what you want us to talk about, so we know.
Well, similar to I've been interviewing so many different industries. I have not managed to interview anybody from the sports world, partly because the seasons are off and so on. They've been grudging about it, but I thought, what better than to have the two of you talk about some of the things you've been seeing in background in sports world, and where is it headed? Are we going to have empty stadiums, and is it still going to be as exciting? And we talk about things you guys are passionate about. So Brett, I do have a question. Is that
Sure.
meant your fan? Is this something subliminal?
Oh my God! You don't know how freaky that question actually is.
It is really coming up. It must be really a hypnotic looking thing, because people are like, I almost fell asleep while watching you guys because of that fan.
talking about TV quality, that's subliminal right there.
You're not kidding. Well, everyone ends up loving the show because of some of these suggestions we place subliminally on it after you've watched the fan for a while.
Yeah, after we say the suggestion, I kind of move out of the way. All right, guys, we really appreciate it. And once again, kind of gone a little long, but that's okay. It's been a good conversation. So on behalf of Tom Libretto and Vinnie Mirchandani, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we will see you, tomorrow talking sports.
But
Thanks
not
again.
in Vegas.